What's up, good people? It's your boy Laws over at Sets 980, other side of sports. This one's tough because I watched the Dan Quinn presser today, as many of you have, and of course, you know, um, when it comes to like press conferences, you're trying to gauge, get a sense of who the person is. And this is just doesn't have anything to do with their football record, but just like their ability to communicate information, their ability to just what kind of vibe you get from the person that's now in charge of your football team. And I said that because we keep it 100 all day, every day with us over here. I didn't like the Dan Quinn hire. I didn't like it for many reasons, right? But I can tell you this. Don't I know y'all looking like you about to change your tune on the team? You now Aaron, he not here today. Tomorrow when we had a podcast, he gonna chime in, and I'm sure he gonna bring me back down to earth because I had to go back after I watched the Dan Quinn press conference. I had to go back and watch the Ron Rivera press conference when he first came here as the head coach, just to see, like, is my eyes fooling me? Do I just, there's a condition when you want something positive to happen, right? So bad that you will just look for anything to just gravitate to and just be, oh yeah, this dude is good, but I'm trying to make sure that it's not that. I really like Dan Quinn. I think they might have fell backwards into the right guy by mistake. Because I don't think, contrary to what they're going to try to tell you, that Dan Quinn was their guy from the jump. I mean, we all know that's cap. We all know that's not the truth. But that aside, they have Dan Quinn here now. And his press conference, one, it showed me a few things. It showed me, one, why like players have so many positive things to say about him. Why players really rock with Dan Quinn like that. Because he just exudes a level of confidence. He exudes a level of leadership. What he says is believable. Like, it's not manufactured. When I was looking back at the Ron press conference, he came out, we're going to do that. Like, it was just forced and it was manufactured and you could just see through it. Right. And in this circumstance, it's just a little bit different. The vibe, the feel from, like, I mean, I don't know that the team's going to be all world or go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. Mind you, this next phase, this draft, is going to tell me a lot more than this press conference told me, because they talked about collaboration. They talked about how, he can just focus on coaching the team and how he got the guys to basically manage the offense and the defense, and how him and the defensive guy, they still speak the same language. And, Cliff, similar to like Kyle Shanahan, like just the ability to stretch the field. And I like all of what he was saying, right? It all makes sense. But, the type of players, in order to play the certain style that he's looking to play, right? That you gotta pick the right groceries. Like, you can't come out here and try to make macaroni and cheese with oranges and potato. Like, that's not how I get down. So it's gonna be interesting to see how they mirror that collaboration and just how much input they have on the list of players that they're bringing in, and even how Adam Peters is doing the evaluations, because to me, it's like that's the key, right? He's coming from an organization where they had a lot of key talent there, and we don't know how much of it that's there that he was responsible for. We're going to find out very quickly here. Starting with the quarterback, right? Who are they going to draft with the number 2 spot? That's really what it comes down to. Whether Dan Quinn is going to have a level of success is going to be predicated on who they draft as a quarterback. And if they get that wrong, then the process will be dragged out. And I think it will be in this circumstance, I think it's a little different because Ron, like, I mean, I know players kind of like him, but Ron was kind of a snake and he lied a lot. Like, say what you want about Ron, but Ron, we called him Ron Con Rivera for a reason because he stayed double talking and he would say one thing and then get in press conference, say something else, and just anything that's convenient to kind of remove responsibility from himself. There was no accountability with Ron Rivera whatsoever. And like that awareness to me is telling for like head coaches and their ability to like come in and especially come into this situation. Dan Quinn seems way more like aware of himself, his deficiencies, things that he's done right in the past, things that he's done wrong, for all like if you wouldn't have known better when Ron came in, you'd have thought Ron had like 10 Super Bowls under his belt. Like you would have known Ron was losing his last couple years and seasons, right? You would have thought he was just like his perennial winning coach, the way he was talking about himself and the things that he was going to bring to the organization. Dan Quinn took a much more humble approach, which I think is a very enduring quality that he has. And, as a leader myself, right? Leaders can spot other leaders. Like you just know people who can galvanize and get people all on one accord, or people that, have something that just people can just gravitate to. And it seems to me that Dan Quinn has those abilities and those qualities. He seems very transparent. He talked about, being honest and open with his players and just telling them the truth. And, how like a lot of players, they're told one thing at the collegiate level and they get to the pro level and, they just have, they're not giving clear instructions or, of their abilities and what they're able to do. And essentially round peg in a square hole. Like he's actually not that. He's like, what did this person do? What did they do well? And let's put them in a position to do that. Now, I know that's a philosophy of a lot of coaches. Dan Quinn, from an experience standpoint, he's been around a lot of successful people and connected to a lot of successful guys. He's been around Mike Tomlin. He's been, he's coached a lot of places. He's, seen a lot of things, played, had a lot of great talent and players, especially defensively. I'll have to like really, I mean, again, the tail is going to be the players that are here, right? That's going to really tell the story. But like just from an ability standpoint, the ability to coach, the ability, some of the things you need, I'm not as pessimistic as I was before on just the hire, right? I think it was a bad hire initially. Now that I'm coming to, because you really don't know somebody until you get to spend time with him and kind of like see, right? And we don't know if he's going to produce winning. So I'm not going as far as to be like, oh yeah, we about to win, we about to whoop them over Dallas, we about to get 2 Super Bowls. Like that's crazy. Like no, this is Washington. We've had just season after season of mediocrity and failure. And so to just think that all of a sudden that's just going to change overnight with the new guy. Now, I'm not even of the mindset. He was asked about what record he think would have or what's the identity of the team. And, he spit out the general rhetoric that you would like to hear from a coach. We're going to be a physical football team. We're going to make, be about big plays and explosive plays and getting explosive playmakers and, all the stuff coaches say, right? I could get up on a podium and you can ask me 1,000 questions and I can pretend that I'm the head coach of a football team. And I'll tell you all the trigger sayings and everything that y'all want to hear, and if you say it confidently enough, people will buy into it, right? I'm less concerned about just that coaching aspect, right? Somebody who's there knows how to coach, knows what responsibilities come along with running a football team, because there's a lot. It's not just X's and O's. It's being able to clock manage. It's being able to like know situations. It's being able to have your team. We say it all the time on the podcast, but having your team prepared to play a football game is the first basic element of being a head coach. Like for the physicality of a football game, you have to prepare your team week in and week out to tackle, to be, in the game from a physicality standpoint. That's the first responsibility, and we've seen, as long as Ron Rivera's been here, we've seen countless times where the team just not prepared to play a football game. You're just like, what are they doing? Like, nobody's out there tackling, it's a debacle. I'm just less concerned, right? My percentage wise, because I know you're like, well, what percentage of confidence do you have in Dan Quinn to turn this organization and this football team around? Now, it's not just Dan Quinn, it's a collective, right? It's the ownership, it's Adam Peters. I think Josh Harris is out of his league, just me personally. I think he knows business and I think he understands stuff, but the whole Ben Johnson debacle, that's just because he was just being cheap. Like, let's just keep it 100. Like, they just didn't want to pay out that much money to a new coach, the unknown, without like having some insurances, and fine with that, right? And so you bring in a guy who kind of knows the NFL landscape, bring in a guy who understands what it takes to be a head coach, and there's a little more comfort there from like, this person is running an organization and they kind of understand what it takes, right? And so we don't have to deal with the growing pains of figuring out, do they even know what they're doing, right? Because that's a part of it too. And I think in that regard, you're safe with Dan Quinn, right? The Kingsbury and with the guys that he's brought on his staff and team, like, I think that there's potential there, and I think that there's reason to be optimistic, right? But it's just like dating. You dating somebody, you can't, just because they looking like they got the signs to be the one, you can't start go ring shopping off break. You got to just play it out, see all the seasons, see what's going on. You need to go through the different seasons before you make that decision. So I'm going to fall back just a tad. I came in here heavy-handed against Dan Quinn, right? I've kind of retracted and backed off a step because I do think that he is capable. And when I said trash before, right, there hasn't even been any games played. But when I said trash before, like, trash is like continued mediocrity, in my opinion. Like, if you're not constantly competing for a playoff position and higher, then to me, you trash, Like, that's just my criteria for it, right? It might be different for y'all. Like, if they win 6 games, you'll be like, it wasn't trash. They were betting. That's trash to me, right? 8-8, that's trash. If I get a 50% on a test, that's trash. 50%, you failed. That's an F. You're not passing. So that's the criteria. Like, just okay is not good enough for me. Maybe it's good enough for y'all. Maybe it's slight progress all this time. But it don't take three years, right? The things that I'm hearing Dan Quinn say, I think that if you can instill that type of confidence in the team, if you can bring in the right pieces along with that philosophy and bring it all together, because that's what makes successful football teams, is when all of those pieces are working together simultaneously in a cohesive unit. Everybody's on the same page, and there's not like hidden agendas, right? I think that's when you start to have success. So can they have success under Dan Quinn? I believe that they can have success. Will they is a whole different question. And y'all know I'm telling y'all the absolute truth when I say the will they is a whole different ball game, right? But I can just say from the press conference, I was encouraged by the things that he said. I'm going to have Aaron on here give his 2 cents because I know he done watched the press conference and see how he thinks about it, and if he, has changed his position on the team. But from my perspective, I think that I'm much more encouraged. I think they might have just fell backwards into the right guy, not even knowing it. And maybe they knew some things or saw some things that were encouraging, but I don't think they knew it to this extent where he would basically knock the press conference out the box. Like, he knocked it out of the park for me personally watching it. The other pieces and how they work together and what, again, this quarterback in the draft is the number, how they manage. I take that back. how they manage this number 2 pick in the quarterback position for this football team, and come April, is going to tell me everything. It's going to tell me over here, we've already done the evaluations of all the quarterbacks. We've already looked in depth to see who's who, what's what, who can do it, who's the bust, who shouldn't be on the draft board, who should be second round, third round, fourth round, who should be first round, who you should be a quarter. I know that people are getting a little excited about the Kingsbury, Cliffsbury, and Caleb Williams, that whole like connection there. Calm yourself, people. Aaron gonna calm y'all down. Don't worry about that. But again, y'all asking who I got as the top ringer. Jaden Daniels is the top ringer in my book, and we're gonna get to why. Don't worry. Just stay with us. Subscribe to the channel. Hang on. We're gonna get into all of that. Y'all gonna see we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing it right, and you know. It is what it is. I'm not trying to brag, or you can check the tapes. Like we do QB and football analysis, right? And we do it better than a lot of your favorite teams. Just tell you. And we're gonna get in it. Y'all who just joined on for the ride. Don't worry, we're gonna show y'all why we special over here. Don't worry. But that aside, Dan Quinn, I might be in. Follow us at OSS980, the other side of sports. It's your boy Law. Sign out. Please subscribe to the channel. Check us out. We got the podcast coming tomorrow where we talk a whole bunch of, we talking all of the sports and everything that's going on. Peace.